I was going to work and I was selling these products that are really aspirational and skin perfecting, but yet I felt really insecure. When you're the person who's going to Sephora and Nordstrom and saying like, this is the next skin perfecting cream, but don't look at my skin, you feel a little bit like an imposter.
Is there a cure for eczema?
We're the only beauty brand that is 100% compliant with the National Eczema Association.
When I first saw Tower28, I had no idea what that meant.
Yeah.
and you know, from someone who's come up with brands like Skin Laundry, and I did my company Super Ordinary, it kind of means nothing, but you always want to ask a question like, what does that mean? Amy, thank you so much for joining me today.
Hi.
I'm so excited to have you here. You are a true inspiration to me and to others.
So honored.
It's really great. I met you probably 2 years ago. When I first met you, I knew immediately that one would be friends.
Yeah.
You have an incredible husband, Victor, who I love, and you know, I think he's hilarious. But today, really wanted to get into understanding how you built such an incredible company from the beginning. I think it's where I like to start is how it all began, and a little bit more on your background.
Yeah, definitely. So I've worked in the beauty industry now for 23 years. So probably suffice it to say this is really the only thing I know how to do. The only other job I had was in consulting. And so the entire time I've worked in beauty, though, I've also had eczema. And so I had this problem where, I don't know, I was going to work and I was selling these products that are really aspirational and skin perfecting, but yet I felt really insecure. And I think no one ever really blatantly said it to me, but I think when you're the person who's going to Sephora and Nordstrom and saying like, this is the next skin perfecting cream, but don't look at my skin, you feel a little bit like an imposter. And so for me, I really felt like what I was looking for was for products that were not only clean, but safe for sensitive skin. So this all kind of coincided when I started at one point in my career, when I was probably starting to become more senior, was also the same time that I was starting to have babies. And when I was having kids, I think you start really thinking about what you're putting on your skin and what's going in your bloodstream too. Because the way that you treat yourself is just different. You're like more mindful when all of a sudden your choices affect someone else's. So that's why the clean part was important to me. The safer sensitive skin part was important to me too, because I firmly believe that we all want makeup and beauty products to make our skin look better, but the one thing that you really don't want is for your skin to look worse.
Yeah.
Right? So like
of course.
So I had this thing where I just really I wanted to be able to cover up my skin issues, whether it was redness, flaking, eczema can be different on different people's skin, but for me it shows up like kind of different. Sometimes it's like almost red and rashy, but then sometimes it's dry and flaky.
Is there a cure for eczema?
So the really frustrating thing about eczema is eczema is an inflammatory condition. There is no cure. There is no clear cause. And it's chronic. So once you have it forever. For me, I feel like it gets worse when I eat a lot of sugar. I don't sleep. I drink wine. Like I do regular things in my life, but stress is hugely impactful. And I think for some people, it's like an issue that happens and then it goes away. So like a lot of people who have sensitive skin think like, oh, I'll just go take an oatmeal bath.
Yeah.
And then I'll get better and I'll go back to my regular routine.
Yeah.
For me, it's like a real way of life.
Yeah.
Like I think the way some people avoid gluten or they might eat a certain way, I think about that for my topicals, for everything I'm putting on my skin.
It's amazing.
And so I was really looking for those two things and like something that was not only clean, but safe for sensitive skin. And I just, honestly, I couldn't find it. The products that were clean were often doing it, they were avoiding fragrances, but they were using essential oils. And when you do that, essential oils are very irritating for certain types of skin.
Yeah.
And then when you look at products that are safe for sensitive skin, they're not necessarily clean.
It's so true.
And frequently, they're like not very cute.
Yeah.
And as we both know, like so much of beauty is like the fun and the aspiration of it.
Absolutely.
And so I wanted both of those things to be true. And that's how Tower28 was born. So the products are what we call good, clean, fun. So they're high performance good, clean, meaning clean and safe for sensitive skin, and fun, meaning really the way it looks, but also like an aesthetic, but entry-level price point.
I mean, I think it's super interesting because, I've always loved beautiful things, and
Yeah.
I love art and I love products. And I think when you're coming up with something so personal to you,
Yeah.
which speaks your personality, I would think, and also you're trying to speak to an audience who have similar issues. And I think one thing I noticed about what you've done is really identified a true problem and try to find a solution for it. And I think a lot of listeners out there would, trying to come up with their ideas. And I think you've, honed in on something that was very specific to you, which makes it even more authentic. So when you were actually creating Tower28 and you've identified this problem, did you notice that there weren't other solutions out there? Was it just, was it that
I mean, I
obvious?
literally played the game of, I would go to Sephora and I would say, hi, I have sensitive skin.
Yeah.
What can you show me? And they would take me, I won't mention brands, but they would take me to brands and I would be like, oh, that's kind of boring looking.
Yeah.
And the other thing is like, I really care about the credibility of it too.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, like a lot of these brands are not made by, some brands are made by doctors and dermatologists and experts. I am well aware that I am not one of those people.
Yeah.
I'm a beauty industry executive. And so it was important to me that I had like third-party verification because I'm not a toxicologist either. And so we are clean at Sephora, clean at Goop, clean at Credo, and I follow their lists to make sure that I'm kind of in adherence to that. But then we also work with, we're the only beauty brand that is 100% compliant with the National Eczema Association.
I mean, that's so important. I think, what's so beautiful about Tower28 is when you peel back the onion layers and you learn more about the brand, because when we think about almost like top of funnel, when people first discover your product, it's interesting when I first saw Tower28, I had no idea what that meant.
Yeah.
and from someone who's come up with brands like Skin Laundry, and I didn't like company Super Ordinary, it kind of means nothing, but you always want to ask a question like, what does that mean?
Yeah. Do you know what it means?
I actually want to know the story because I don't know the truth. I can guess, but I don't want to.
So the true story, and actually I don't talk about this less often, but my dream for the longest time, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur and to start my own business. And I don't know if you've ever done this, but when I was coming up in my career, I would say to the people that I liked, my friends in the industry, I would say like, what if we all just took our best people from the industry and we started our own company? And I was like, I'm going to name it Tribe, like my tribe of people. Yeah. Turns out that is impossible to trademark. So it's funny, but we are actually, technically we are incorporated as Tribe DBA Tower28 because that's how I started things. And then I found out I couldn't trademark it.
I like it.
And Tower28 really came about because it's very hard to name something these days.
Impossible.
If you want to get the handle, the website, like the domain, if you want the trademark and you want to get it in the US and in Canada and in China, and it's impossible. Yeah. And so I was like, oh, I don't know, I should be this. And I was Googling things and I had hired someone to help me think of something. And honestly, it was as simple as a text. A friend of mine, shout out my friend Pam, sent me a text one day and she was like, hey, we're all going to the beach. Meet me at Tower28 if you want to come. Oh. And I was like, hey, is that it? Tower28? It's like this meeting spot. So I don't know where you go to the beach. Where do you go to the beach?
I mean, I go down to Malibu.
Are you Malibu guy?
Yeah.
So I've lived in like the West Side, Santa Monica, and now I'm in Venice, but for a very long time now. And so Tower28 and Tower26 are the two places a lot of people meet because they have little walkways out to them. And so I thought like it's this real community spot, and the beach is this place where everyone gets to enjoy a clean and healthy lifestyle. And I really wanted to do an entry-level price point so that kind of helped tell that story too.
It's funny because
so it's a real lifeguard tower.
What I love about that is because I think California and California's gone in vogue and a little bit out of vogue, and now it's like screaming high now. I think, and because lifestyle, like especially as we get older, we want lifestyle. We want. It's not sunny today, but usually we pay the sunshine tax. I mean, it's great. But I also love the feeling that what the name means and what it evokes in terms of like happiness and I think that's what you've done in there, and I think what's special about Tower28 when I see it was that what looks quite simple is actually very effective. Yeah, and I think we've worked together, and one of the things that I'm always amazed is some of the hero products that you've created, and I think
and they've been the same from the beginning.
Yeah, and clearly solve a problem, and I think the SOS spray, I remember just watching it, the volume you're doing. I'm like, what is in this? Until we actually tried it. And I think you've done an incredible job with it. And I think, creating this brand from the beginning, and what I'd love to understand is, the day you decided to leave and start Tower 28, on day one, and, you made that decision, you've resigned, you've, written, I don't know, a 5-page deck or whatever you've done.
Yeah. So none of these things are true.
Okay, let's make it up. But I think to most entrepreneurs or founders or, wherever you are in your life, to make that first decision and I remember that day myself. Tell us about that day.
So the reason I say it's not true is because I was in a really different life point. So I had worked as a beauty executive for a long time. I'd quit my job already. And for 4 years, I basically had my third child. I remodeled a house, and then I consulted for a lot of local kind of digitally native brands. Okay. So I kept my toe in the water. And
beauty and non-beauty or
all beauty, like Lime Crime Jouet, Marula, like little brands around LA. And I kept working, but I did it in a part-time capacity. And so to make the leap was a little bit different for me because I had less of an opportunity cost in some way, although I was ready to go back to work. So I waited until my youngest, Charlie, who you know, got into preschool. And literally the week she got into preschool, I walked across the street and I met a friend at a coffee shop. And I said, I want to go back to work. I'm ready to go back to work, and this is what I want. I want something where I have some skin in the game. I want equity. I want a seat at the table, and I want like something funded. So, and I want like a big job. And he was a friend of mine from business school who knew a lot about the startup scene in LA. And he was like, I thought you wanted to do something on your own. And I was like, I did, but like I'm 40 and I have a mortgage. I have 3 kids in private school and I probably realistically can't do it because I don't have a partner and I don't have money. And he said, well, if you have money, you don't need a partner because you can hire people. And I was like, well, I don't have money. And he was like, well, what if I invested? And that was really the thing that changed things because he basically offered, he was like, whatever you think you need, what if I gave you half? And he's like, how much do you think you need? And I had written the business plan for another brand founder recently. I'd been hired to consult and do that. And based on her numbers, we needed $250,000 just to like start for her own business. And so I told him that, and he was like, okay, it's not 250. It's, if you think it's 250, it's 500.
Yeah. Great advice.
It's going to take twice as long and you're going to make mistakes. So you need 500. He's like, I will give you 250 if you can raise the rest of it within 30 days. And I was like, what?
Within 30 days. Wow.
So he had a personal thing where he had, like buying a house, he had sold a company, his company, and you can roll over the money and avoid or delay capital gains if you also put it into equity. And so he had some incentive to do that. And he was like, if you can do it within this time frame, you can do it. And I was like, what?
That's amazing.
And I didn't know that people had money like that. I really didn't. I didn't know that private people invested in things like that. I thought the only people who raised money were like Glossier and Away and these things that you read about in the news. But I didn't think I was one of those people. And I mentioned that because I think a lot of people don't consider themselves as part of that elite that you read about. Yeah, absolutely. Right? You're like, even if you read about it and you know that in a textbook it could happen, you don't think that that's you. It's a lot easier to believe the negative things when you read things, especially as a woman and a person of color. I think, what is it, like 2% of women get all the funding? And then if you splice that by like women of color, it's like point something percent. I don't remember the numbers exactly, but I think you have to, like, instead of listening to that, you have to listen to the stories where it does happen.
It does happen, yeah. I think, what I love about that story is like, I love hearing it, that it is possible. It's not insurmountable. And, you went out raising $250,000 to $500,000. It's a lot of money to most people, but to be able to do that. And I think you've also shown that, you knew what you wanted to do.
Well, the thing that was actually surprising to me was, yes, it was shocking that I got that first 250 from him. What was very surprising to me was that I was able to raise the other 250 pretty easily. And here's where I think it's important to just think about, like, I didn't even realize it, but I had walked around for such a long time telling people, at some point I want to start my own company.
Yeah.
I didn't even know I had done this, but it was something I wanted so much that over the years, I mean, I was part of the Entrepreneurship Venture Management Association in business school. Like I was always the one chasing the startup culture, and I was going from bigger company to smaller company with a bigger job every time. And I kept telling everybody, I'm going to get like a seat at the table. I'm just trying to get closer to like the founder, so I know what it's like. And then when it was time that I actually needed to raise the money, so my friend, he gave me a term sheet and he's like, you cannot think of this as like a friendship thing. He's like, you've got to take this term sheet and get people's advice and say like, is this something I should sign?
It's amazing advice.
And so I did that, and people would give me advice, but even if they didn't invest, they would be like, I'd say, do you know anyone that would be interested?
Yeah.
And they would put me in touch with someone else, and you follow the cookie trail. But the thing that was surprising to me was how many people from like my neighbors that worked for me, my business school friends, like people came out of the woodwork and they were like, you've been saying you've wanted to do this since forever. Like I had high school friends, college friends, like, and some of it was small checks, but it was like, hey, I want in.
Yeah.
And I was just so shocked. And so I guess if there's advice I can give to anyone, it's like, you have to tell people your dreams. You have to tell people what you want to do.
I mean, as I get older, I really truly believe one of the things I've learned over the last 20 years is that if you believe it will happen, and
you have to put it out there.
You put it out there and things happen, because subconsciously you're always going to be thinking about it. So you're going to be naturally making these little steps forward towards that goal or that target. Your husband doesn't know you're thinking about it. Your kids don't know you're thinking about it. I mean, when I just saw Charlie, she's so proud of your brand. And I mean, how can you not be so excited when you can share that kind of excitement about your successes, which is amazing. And it's so funny because I have 3 teenage boys who, they refuse to comment about anything that I do, but I know they're secretly happy and proud about it.
You're super cool.
Yes and no.
Maybe their girlfriends think you're super cool.
Yeah, probably because I can help them get makeup and skincare products like Tower28. But I think, when I think about what you've done in your journey now, and now you're at the stage where the business has grown out of sight, and it's been one of the darlings of the industry. And when we watch the growth, and I think you've been able to really do something different, which I'm, excited to talk about. Subconsciously, when I first met you, I was like, this is another brand that's done exceptionally well. It's in, there's probably 3 or 4 brands in that similar kind of stratosphere that have grown that fast. But, I always question, like, what can you as a brand founder do something different? And what are the things that you think about to, when everyone's zigging, you're zagging? And recently I've noticed your TikTok and your marketing campaigns and what you've been doing. And I'd just love to hear a little bit about what you've done and how you've come up with those ideas.
You mean like the blush skits? Is that what you're thinking about? Or
I love those. The mini series. I've made everyone in our office watch them.
Well, you were actually part of the inspiration. I don't know if you remember this, but you were like, why wouldn't you just do some things that are totally different and like just see if it works?
I mean, Amy, I remember that conversation when we sat in your conference room, and I was like, and I actually really love, that's why I love talking to you about it. I was like, let's do something different. Because this is such a freaking cool brand. Let's have some fun with it. And I was, I definitely was so impressed. When I saw that out, I kind of was like, I was like really happy for it. So tell us about it. I want to know like, how you came up with the ideas, and, also how you use TikTok these days, because obviously it's a big funnel for you guys. I mean,
I think it goes even to what you just said earlier. Like if you have an idea, you have to put it out there, and then somehow like, listen, I'm a little woo-woo, this like universe stuff, all of that. I don't know. But like you had said that to me. And then I think I had heard, in general, I noticed that the way I myself interact with social, and it's so mind-numbingly boring sometimes. Like it's just everyone's doing the same thing, and you could like cover up the brand, and you could be like, I don't know, is that any of us, right? We're all kind of the same to some degree at some point, and we're all doing like shade swatches and whatever. And so I think I was thinking about that. And then I was also thinking about like, just like, what is thumb stopping content that could make it feel different?
I like that. Yeah.
And then on top of that, like in the office, we talk a lot about like good, clean fun and how that's our ethos.
Yeah.
And we're like, how can we be fun and funny?
Yeah.
And Alex on my team, actually, our director of marketing, was like, what if we did something with skits? She was like, I think we could do something. And I was like, at a party.
Yeah.
And this is, again, how the universe happened.
Yeah.
So I was at a party and we were talking. I was like, this is LA. There must be so many comedy writers here.
Yeah.
There's so many people like LA. And entertainment has had such a hard time. And so I was talking to this woman and I was like, hey, do you know anyone that can write like some great TikTok content for me? And let's just throw some spaghetti at the wall.
Yeah.
And she was like, this girl on my team is so funny.
Yeah.
And she's like a Gen Z girl and she writes for the sex lives of college girls.
Oh, no way.
And I was like, okay, and they're
perfect.
off season or whatever. And she was like, you should just ask her. And I was like, okay. And so I think we gave her like a couple $1,000.
Yeah.
And we were like, write us some concepts and let's just see. And so she wrote this concept. She wrote all 3 concepts, the first one, and we liked all of them. And we were like, okay, now how do we get it made?
Yeah.
And coincidentally, I was on a podcast, actually, Nancy Twine. So shout out Nancy Twine. And her team was like, hey, we'd love to work with you. We'll do something with you. What do you want to do? And we were like, I don't know. We kind of want to make these skits.
Yeah.
And they were like, great, we'll do it for like super reduced rate.
Amazing.
And we were like, okay. And then there is like a group of actresses. So I'm making this very long. You'll probably want to cut this. But ultimately, it's like, I think if you have the right intention, and I think on whether you're talking about TikTok or Instagram, the intention is the same to me. I'm either trying to educate, I'm trying to entertain, or I'm trying to emote.
I think you killed it. 1. 2, I think you need to lean more into it because I just think it's so boring when you're scrolling and also like, you know, people want to be entertained.
And even if it was thumb stopping just for the, like, listen, I think if you did it every day, the same type of thing, I don't think it would be interesting anymore because it is different from what you normally see. That's why it was interesting.
Yeah. You know, I think, you know, taking that first step and doing like these mini micro series, and I actually believe that you're a micro studio, you are a media company, and, you know, Tower28 can lean in and play in some
I agree with you. I
areas.
think all brands are, yes, you have to make amazing products.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But then beyond, there's actually like sometimes surprisingly little difference in a lot of brands in terms of their products.
Yeah.
And it's easy to go private label something, right? If that's what you wanted to do. We don't do that. But then it's really about the marketing and being somebody, helping somebody find you.
Yeah. How do you think about like marketing these days with, you know, the cost of marketing's gone up a lot more, you know, the return on your ad spend's a lot less.
Yeah.
You know, we're showing more platforms to deal with, less people going to D2C, they're going to different, you know, and, you know, I said the other day, like, I feel like with TikTok and a lot of social commerce, it's, you know, before it's people finding products, now it's products finding people. So we have to be in all these new places that we weren't normally in.
Yeah.
How do you guys think about that?
I think you have to be kind of everywhere. I always think of it as this, like, you almost want someone to feel like they can't help but run into you.
Yeah.
Right. So if I look out the window, I see your out of home billboard. If I turn on my phone, I hear you on a podcast. Then when I like log in, when I look at TikTok, there you are again. And I walk into Sephora, there I am again.
Yeah.
So you need that surround sound in order to have both the credibility and the consistency and frequency with a person in order to kind of make it down that funnel for conversion.
Yeah.
And that's a really hard thing to do because it's expensive. And there's not one tactic that like, there's no silver bullet anymore, right?
Yeah.
So there was a period of time where like, if you could just be really good at Instagram, you could win.
Yeah, exactly.
And there was a period of time where I would say like, even with TikTok and TikTok shops, like you could have won if you were really good at that. Sephora, if you were like a darling at Sephora, like, honestly, every brand last year at Sephora won. I think it was like the best year they've ever had.
Yeah.
So all of those things are true, but none of them really in isolation work.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so you have to have that symphony of everything playing at the same time. which is super important, but it's also very hard for a small business to do because small businesses also thrive from focus, right? Like you have to prioritize because you don't have the money to do everything all the time at once.
No, I think what you've just outlined I think is probably going to be the biggest challenge for a lot of small brands and founders. But I think the solution is that, figuring out and finding good partners to work with.
100%.
And the other thing is like trying to figure out the channel changes is going to be difficult. And, we potentially could be entering into a phase of the economy, which, none of us are excited about. But, it's I think what a lot of listeners would probably be interested in, you've built a business in a time where the markets have been going from, bottom left to top right.
Yeah.
And how do you think about like the future and not just calling out the economy itself, but, preparing and 'cause I feel like, you've always been very like proactive as a founder. So curious to hear what
I don't know. Honestly, as much as things have changed, I think they stay the same. So my husband Victor has been along other people I know like revere sports players and things like that. He like loves Warren Buffett. Yeah. So I don't know if you've paid attention to Warren Buffett in your life, but we like forever have gone to the Omaha Warren Buffett Berkshire Hathaway shareholder meeting. I didn't realize you
oh my God. Have you gone together?
Woodstock for capitalists for like 20 years. Like it is real.
Cool. That's a fun fact.
Anyway, I only bring that up to say like Warren Buffett has a lot of like folksy kind of business advice. And I actually think it's very true. I mean, I kind of do. I never really believed in these like revenue at all costs kind of ideas or like fake it till you make it concepts. I really believe in like just good old fashioned like unit economics, being able to create demand through a product that's really good. And once I have product market fit, then I go on like helping myself find the customer and funnel marketing. Like I think the profitability is more important than it's ever been before because there's just so much ahead of us that we don't know that like when something like this happens with the tariffs, like we'll be able to weather it because we're profitable. That's amazing. And we don't have to worry about like, I think the thing that I take the most seriously is the team that I bring on. This is not, there are many people on my team who are the breadwinners of their families. Absolutely. And like, it's one thing if I have to let someone go for like performance, but like I've never had to let someone go because I miscalculated and I couldn't afford it.
I think that's the thing that stresses me out.
That's a real business owner.
Yeah, we had, at one stage we had more than 500 people in our company, and I multiplied it out that they all have a wife or a husband and they have children, and you're thinking about putting bread and food on the table for 1,200 people. I was like, holy shit, that was kind of like very scary to me. I think. Actually, it's an interesting point that I want to ask you was when you first started your company, how did you pick your first two employees? Victor wasn't working with you at the time. No, he was not. My first two employees both started out as unpaid interns. Are you serious?
They had never had jobs before.
Really?
Both of them had a dream to work in the beauty industry. And
so you really, truly did everything yourself.
And I had this hubris, honestly, and I say hubris because I think it was unfounded. I had this hubris that like I'd been in the industry for a long time and I could teach people what to do. And that, listen, it was fine. I was able to hire people as consultants to kind of do the things that I didn't know how to do. Yeah. But yeah, those two people are still with me today, which is great. That's and incredible. I'm so proud of.
I mean, most beauty founders that I've met have generally I probably would say wouldn't have had the confidence because they didn't work in the industry as long as you have. So immediately the natural human instinct is to go and find someone as equal as you or someone who you feel like you can take the jump off the bridge with. But I think, when I see, and some of the things I've done in my life, I always believe that, getting control of the business early is really important.
Yeah. I think sometimes people want to know so much about like, what are the right moves? Yeah. And I almost feel like a lot of life is just about not making the big wrong moves. Like if you can just avoid the big mistakes, wrong partner, and I don't even mean like business partner, but it could even just be taking money from the wrong person and signing the wrong document and giving up control too easy.
Absolutely.
But everybody I know who is unhappy, it's has something to do with control. I don't care if you make money or don't make money. If you don't have control in some way and you don't have agency in your own business, people I know are not happy.
Because I think, that you bring up a good point, because I think also sometimes you do these businesses, not just purely because you want to build your own company. It's also the freedom to do what you want to do in your life.
Yeah.
You and I talked a little bit about that earlier today. As you've grown the business, maybe you just tell us a little bit of, things that have unlocked for you from building this, like things that you didn't probably know you could do.
Oh, that I could do?
Yeah.
I mean, frankly, I didn't know I could do this. Like, I've never been. I really thought I kind of told myself this story that I was a really good number 2.
Yeah.
I was really good at working for other people.
Yeah.
I honestly was a great employee.
Yeah. I can see that.
I'm accountable, but I really felt like I was good at taking someone else's dream and helping them construct it. And so to be able to step into it on my own was actually really foreign and really scary for me. Like I literally wrote speeches for Josie Marin and Kate Somerville,
That's
right?
crazy.
Like and then to write one for myself felt really strange. And even in the beginning when I started Tower28, we always made the products the same. But I never put my own story in it, like about my own experience with eczema. And honestly, not until I started doing desk sides and talking to editors, and they were like, well, why do you make the products the way that you do? And I was like, oh, yeah, I have eczema. And they were like, what? Wait, why did you tell me more about this? Like, what's your experience? And I was like, why would you care about me? So people identify with other people. And I still am not someone who does like a get ready with me or anything like that. That's not my style. But I do think like I've looked for the platforms that I'm more comfortable in. Like I quite like a podcast because I like people. I like conversation. But I quite dislike doing like a get ready with me.
Oh my God. As you know, this is my first time doing a podcast, and I hate being in front of the camera. But one of the things I really enjoy is I love all the relationships that I've built over the years, because I think, you come across as a very loyal person, like to friendships. And I think that's something that's really special, because at the end of the day, like, and I think this is really good advice for most people, is like, you can pick up the phone and ask for like, some advice that, not often you would get from, some of your friends even.
The success that I've had has been so much built upon my community and my ability to call a friend and phone a friend for help. Because I don't know how to do everything. I don't care how long you stay in the industry. Like you just don't know how to do everything. And even if you work, like I worked alongside product development, I worked alongside sales and ops, but I realized once I started doing it, I don't know how to do their job. It's a really different thing.
It's a completely different thing. I think people take the assumption that when you set up a beauty brand, you've done everything. You've done supply chain, you've done product development, you've done testing. But when it comes down to it, you've got to learn those skills again. And making products is not easy. You can, as you said earlier, you can go do a white label turnkey, but that means nothing if it's not a great product.
Yeah. And I think if you can find someone who is like just a couple years ahead of you, like who can help you see around the bend.
I 100% agree.
If the Glow Recipe founders, I often tell them, I'm like, I feel like you're like seniors and I'm like a sophomore. What's up next? Tell me.
I know. I mean, it's so funny because you look at other people in the industry and in the beauty industry, and we know a lot of similar people, and you admire them, and you're just like, oh my gosh, they're like 2 years ahead of me or 3 years ahead of me, and what could I do so I don't make the same mistake of learn from them. I think that's what's exciting, because you can see the track.
Yeah. I also think we're in a time where, I mean, when I was younger and starting out in the industry, I really did not feel the sense of collaboration over competition. But I really do think it is different today. I think I
hope so.
The community is very different.
I mean, competitiveness is great, and I think everyone operates at better levels in efficiency. But like the thing that I really like about the beauty industry, when people do come together, it's very fun. Everyone, has more stories to tell, and I think generally people do care, and because I think it's the beauty industry is so competitive.
Yeah, and it's a small industry
it's
too.
Super small. Like everyone knows. The investors know each other. They everyone knows that all the skeletons are out there. You can just assume that. But anyway, The other thing which I really admire is that you and Victor work together.
Oh yeah.
And I won't get too personal, but I'd love to know like a little bit about how you guys have done it so successfully. I think Victor is so thoughtful, and he's he reaches out to me from time to time to chat, and we have a very frank conversation. But
I'm really glad he has you too. I think of all, when people tell me they're like so, I don't know, proud or impressed with like the career I've built, I often say I think the thing that the people should really be, that I feel really proud of, is honestly my family. I have I'm so lucky to have 3 beautiful, healthy kids who are not just surviving, but like genuinely like thriving on their own, and they're smart and capable, and they know how to look you in the eye and say hello, which I think is not a lot of kids today.
No, they don't.
And Victor and I have been together for 25 years now.
Amazing.
And we are not just together, which is part of it, but we're happy and we like each other and we actually respect each other. And I actually think what really happened was almost like this baton pass. He worked in finance before. And so almost by virtue of the type of industry we both chose, we kind of both always thought he would always make much more money than me.
Yeah.
And when I started doing Tower28, and it was clear that there were some real legs to it, and I was still sending out every wire transfer, and I was still setting up payroll and doing, and this was 2.5 years ago.
Yeah.
Not that long ago. We were still doing that. And at some point we were like, wait a minute, maybe this could be more valuable, or like have a higher expected value than even like your kind of current income.
Yeah.
And so we made that switch and decided for him to come on. And it was really scary, honestly, because there's more risk in it, right? We're putting all our eggs in the same basket. Yeah. But I think in the end, it's been this baton pass. So like, honestly, he's taken over. I used to be the primary for the kids and I was working. Now we're both working, but he's more of the primary with the kids. He does all the scheduling for the kids.
It's amazing.
Signs them up for sports. And he tells me like, you go over here to this, lacrosse game and I'll go over here to this volleyball game or whatever. Yeah. And so like, and sometimes I hear him say things like, oh, this is so hard. I'm like, oh, is it?
I love it.
But because I've been in his position too. And so it feels like we are truly in partnership.
It's amazing.
And we're so different from each other that I think it works. Like I am optimistic. I like to build. I like to create. I love beautiful things. Yeah. Victor could come into this room and he would have no memory that this couch was green. He would be here and he would be like, was there color in the room? I don't even know. He doesn't see it. Yeah. And he's inherently kind of a pessimist. Like he thinks that the world might end at any moment. And so he's always saving. Do you know what I mean? We're like literally.
We call it the handbrake in Australia.
Yeah. Yes, he is the handbrake, right? When the tariffs happened, it's like, not that he's happy, but there's like a part of him that is always like, we're built for this. Like he's like he knew it was coming or something.
Everyone needs a Victor in their life, I think. Yeah.
I don't know if you think this, but I've heard other people say this. I think the biggest determinant to your happiness in your life is really the partner you choose.
That's such a good
saying. Because it dictates so much, right? And your ability to like strive and your ability to achieve and be supported. And I think especially for women. Yeah. Because I think women kind of have this like expectation of this like second shift of motherhood, if that's something you opt to do. And I think there are very few men who could do what Victor's doing, because clearly like I started a company that he joined.
Absolutely.
As opposed to like, we didn't start it together. Yeah.
Well, I don't think you hear many stories like that. I mean, I think that I could count on like less than on 2 fingers of people I know who've done that path with their partner. But I think, having happiness together, are there boundaries you guys have, like not talking about work when you get home, or is it, have you fallen?
We do. I mean, I don't know that there's nothing more full on in life than the 2 things I probably focus on the most in my life are my family and my business. And so that's hard to start and
separate.
Stop. Yeah. And so I wouldn't say that we have a great boundary around it, but I think we have limits. Like there are times where I'm like, I just don't feel like it right now.
Exactly.
And that's it.
Do you have a safe word like spaghetti? No one talks about it.
I think it's more like I just make a face.
I love it. Where did we first meet? And maybe I reached out to you. I'm not sure how it happened.
How did we end up working with you? I actually don't remember.
Well, I remember as my first meeting.
I remember our first meeting, but I don't know if I remember how we ended up working with you. I've heard about you for a long time.
Okay.
You're like an industry icon.
No,
I read about you in
wow.
WWD.
Wow. I must have, I don't know, maybe it's my twin brother. We met and we were working together for Amazon.
For Amazon business.
For Amazon business. And, you know, when we first started, I always like working with great founders and fun founders because I'm also thinking about like, when you're building a company, you just want to work with great and fun people. Like, this is what life's about.
Half of why I started my own company was because I wanted to choose who I worked with.
Yeah. And, you know, again, life is short. But I think one thing I've also thought about a lot is like, you know, how you become happy from what you do.
Yeah.
And, you know, I feel like starting your own company, and this is probably my 5th company I've started. You know, I started my first company when I was 28.
Wow.
And now it's like, you know, I started this one when I was 46. And I was like, oh my God, you know, at least it gives me the license to go and work with fun things and work with fun people. And no one to ask you a question about, you know, also choosing mentors. So who are the mentors that whether they're in your life or, you know, you read about them, who are the like 2 or 3 mentors that you look up to?
I feel like I have so many mentors in my life and I don't even know if they know they are my mentors. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You kind of go to, I don't know if, I'm sure you do this too, but like I go to different people for guidance, for inspiration. I mean, I took private equity money at the end of last year and frankly, we didn't need the money.
Yeah.
I wasn't doing it for the money. I was doing it because I wanted a thought partner and because I felt like we were entering into a phase that I hadn't seen before. And then I wanted someone who had skin in the game and would really care with me. We ended up, do you know Alicia actually, Sontag?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah, Prelude.
So we ended up going with Alicia Sontag at Prelude. And I have to tell you, I feel so happy about the decision. And if anyone is out there thinking about taking money, I would really think about not so much like who the company is, but who the person is that you're taking the money from and who's going to be working with you on a daily basis.
Absolutely.
And how you will feel working with them when things are good, but also like if things go sideways, like what will your relationship be like? Because again, it's like all these things we were talking about, community and relationship. It's like a marriage.
No, absolutely. I mean, I think, you know, when I've taken money and I've taken money from different businesses along the career and, you know, it's been a challenge. You know, one, you can't always get money from the people you want because the time's not right. And, you know, you're also raising it at the wrong time. And, you know, especially when the conditions are different. But I think, you know, finding someone like Alicia who, you know, one, I think she really invest in women founders, which I really appreciate what she's done. And she's got back so many great brands. How about when things are going sideways? Like, how do you know, is the first call, do you reach out to the investors? I reach out probably to more founders, other founders that I think have been in the same seat as me. So like literally last night, I was on the phone with Priscilla Sai from Coco Kind. I don't know if you know her, but we were talking about the tariffs. We were talking about team. We were talking about all these things. I think there is, again, if you have that commonality of being in that same place, you can really understand each other. Absolutely.
But I think mentorship can come in so many different ways. I find that mentorship is really just another word for like, who are the people that you turn to for advice? And no one person has all the answers, but like you guaranteed know lots of people who have different parts of the answers. Like I would consider you a mentor. I would turn to you for certain things.
I'm honored.
And I would turn to, you know, Margarita Arraghiata, right? I'm sure we both know. Like when we were launching into Sephora, or I was going to pitch Sephora, she was my first call. I was like, what do I do? This is my plan. I've got a deck. And I'm going to show them my deck and the need gap and the market size. And she was like, oh, no. Don't do any of that. She's like, I want you to bring like, aside from like the actual sand at the beach and a lifeguard tower with you, you need to bring like the story and the emotion behind it. And so like you take things from different people and then you listen to what resonates for you. Yeah,
I think that's such good advice, is to pick a couple of people that you can rely on to ask like difficult questions, like what do I do in this dire scenario? Because people need to bring you down in terms of like, everything's going to be okay. Like everything seems to always be a lot more volatile in the moment.
It's like they say, isn't it what they say? Like nothing is as bad as it seems or as good as it seems.
It's never. It's like the highs and the lows. Like it's, if you can have that steady, moderated heartbeat through the whole thing, which is obviously a dream. But I think it's something that, I purposely love to hear is like, I've got my mentors. I have my, my twin brother is my ride or die on everything. So whenever it gets loose, I'm like WhatsApp call to Justin. So that always, helps me back. I think it's really special that, as people now are coming into becoming entrepreneurs and we heavily invest in creators and influencers for their little businesses too now. So I think one of the pieces of questions I have is, for people who are not going into the beauty industry, could be looking at other, whether it's fashion or becoming a media pod star, podcast star or whatever they're looking to do. Like, what are the things that you try? I mean, you got 3 kids who are going to do different things. I know Charlie wants to go into robotics today, but how as a mother, like, how are you thinking about? Let's say one of your kids says, Mom, I don't want to go to college. Like we were all told to go to college, right? We came from Asian parents, so I know what it's like. But how do you think about like the next generation? Because things have changed so much.
Oh God, things have changed so much. And I think that the set of rules has changed. And I think that, I don't know, college is an interesting one. I don't know if college will be as defining as it has been in this next generation as it has been in the past ones. And mostly I also think that the cost of it is just astronomical. So I just don't know if the ROI is there for a lot of people, right? Like it's just a high ROI. This may seem too simplistic, but I think there's so much that is going to change because of AI even, right? Like, so we've had the wave of social, that's happened. I don't think we've seen the extent of social shopping. And I think AI is happening still. I think the ability to look someone in the eye and have a conversation and connect
100%
is and to be able to focus. Like, I think a lot of people cannot focus. A lot of young people cannot hold a conversation. Like the number of people I hear say they can't sit through watching a sitcom.
Oh my God.
Like they can't, they literally can't.
I mean,
my daughter plays Tetris while she watches TV.
Seriously.
She can't do just one of those things.
I mean, have you ever, I can't imagine taking my 3 kids to watch a movie. They'll all get up within 10 minutes and walk around the cinema. Like they're literally.
I just think like the ability to pay attention and to connect is really important. And I don't know that we're paying enough attention.
Do you think it's more of a phenomenon in the US versus, I know you travel a lot, so like when you go to Europe and UK and all these markets, do you see?
I think it's the same everywhere because I think we're all on phones, myself included, and I think phones are like junk food. Like it just is what it does to my attention span is definitely shorter than it used to be.
So, you work a busy life, you're looking after the kids, you come home and both you and Victor, like how do you unwind after, like, we all deal with different ways. I mean,
so this is a hack for my relationship as well. But like Victor and I go on a walk every morning, and I would say we probably do about 10,000 steps
every morning. That's
morning.
Insane. That's incredible. What time do you go? What time do you do that?
Today we were probably up at like 5:30.
Are you serious? Wow.
So I'm probably walking for at least an hour.
Do you guys talk to each other while you're walking?
Yeah, that's all we do is talk to each other. It's a one time of day.
I can't imagine Victor not talking to you.
It's a one time of day that we talk and we don't get interrupted, right? Because normally we have we actually don't talk to each other very much during the workday.
Yeah.
And then at home, it's like the kids are always there. So it's hard to like have one conversation. It's actually like really great for our relationship. What do you do? What's your thing?
Good question. So used to come home and have a beer, like or 2. Let's have 1 or 2 beers. But it's so funny. Like I turned 50 recently, and I decided to like try and like only have 1 beer, which is not a lot. But I actually love going for walks. I've got a Bernadoodle, who you've met, and so I take her for a walk. Yeah, and we just like, you know, chilling at home and listening to music, which is a big thing in our house.
Yeah.
And having fun. Like, you know, I think 10 years ago, I'd be going out to lots of restaurants and things like that. And I think it's really fun to have like dinner parties at home with good friends. And, you know, collected a really great group of friends here in LA. So I think it's, you know, LA is certainly home for us. I just feel that, you know, as you've realized too, is like, you know, showing up to your friends and they're all doing different, you know, we've got friends from all different walks of life, and most of them are not in our industry, which is great. You know, we're trying to do more dinners together with friends. So we'll definitely get you and Victor over soon.
Do you cook?
I do cook. I started cooking. My dad was a cook from Hong Kong, and my mom was a waitress. So
now I have high expectations.
Yeah, okay.
I want like a Hong Kong style banquet.
All right. So my dad spoiled us because he cooked for us so well, and so did my mom, and ended up, you know, both Justin and I were, you know, ate such great food that when it was time for us to cook, we didn't have a clue what to do. But it's actually like super relaxing, super therapeutic to cook and have a glass of wine. But Amy, listen, thank you so much for coming today. It's been wonderful. I really wanted to do something different on this podcast just because I think, you know, one, give you something on the way out to remember it. And so I asked you to bring something with you to share, which is one of your favorite albums, and to tell us why.
This is one of my favorite, not only albums, but performers of all time. And it's Prince.
I love Prince.
I love Prince. In particular, I love this album.
What's your favorite song?
I mean, I love so many of them, but like When Doves Cry has always been
amazing.
Just like one of those that like hits different. I don't know.
Do you ever put it in the office on full blast?
Actually, I don't think I ever have. Maybe I should go right now and do that.
Yeah.
No, I have not done that, but I just, I was telling you this earlier, I saw Prince perform when I was in college.
Amazing.
And I don't think I got it until that moment.
What do you mean got it?
I never listened to his music quite the same way after.
Yeah.
Like I understood his artistry in a different way.
He's amazing.
After I saw him in performance.
I've seen him twice, once at the Super Bowl in Miami, play when it was raining and he was playing the Purple Rain solo. I was like, this is like a religious experience.
Yeah.
But he's amazing. So
Purple Rain in my head.
Yeah, Purple Rain, 1999.
Yeah.
A great song as well. Well, I got you an album today, which is, I think, represents you in many ways. It's a badass woman called Janet Jackson.
Oh, just this one.
and the song, the first song, which I would say for you, or there's two, actually, there's a few.
Control.
Control.
Control. Yeah, I do have a problem with wanting a lot of control.
We'll love it. So I'm gonna, after this, we're gonna put it on the Ren Silver. There's the record player over there.
Oh,
so you
I love
can hear
it.
Yeah. So this for you.
Yay! Aww.
Thanks, Amy. Thanks for coming.
Oh, that was so fun. That was sweet.
Thank you, Amy. Thanks for coming in today. It's a pleasure having you. I'm so excited for everyone to follow our podcast. So please like and subscribe. And also, we have a special offer for all our listeners today to go to Tower28Beauty.com. Yeah. Put in on the record for 10% off. Yeah. Thank you so much.